Well, setting aside my total frustration with the horrendous robbery that was Murata versus Endam, there was two other fights on the card. This one I'm going to be covering, or on this video I'm going to be covering Daigo Higa successfully defeating Juan Hernandez Navarrete in order to become the new WBC World Flyweight Champion. And he did it really, really damn impressively. Really, one of the more impressive victories I've seen recently. Not even just at flyweight, but really in any weight class. I mean, Hernandez did miss the weight, so he dropped the title on the scales. He missed the 112-pound weigh-in, wound up weighing 113 when he first weighed in 112.5 when he re-weighed in, and then he just said screw it and decided not to try and weigh in again. Higa, of course, made the weight, so he was eligible to win the title. And, I mean, when he did, it started off a little bit rough for him. Hernandez appeared to be just a little bit too quick of hand and foot for Higa. And I was thinking that might have been the case. I mean, Higa is, you know, some I don't even want to necessarily call him a plotter, but somewhat, at the very least, in comparison to Hernandez, who's always up on his toes. He's almost like a Carlos Cuadras or a Yurick Gamboa. He's up on his toes, hopping around, skipping around, switching stances, southpaw, orthodox, back and forth. And, you know, he's quick. You know, he's really, really quick. Higa tends to be a bit more of like a Golovkin style of fighter. And, you know, I've made that comparison to him in the past. Maybe somewhat of a poor man's Golovkin, or like a young Golovkin, I guess. You know, Higa's only 21. He's still learning. He still has a lot to learn, definitely, in order to get to the level of Triple G, you know, all the way. But, I mean, he definitely has a lot of the raw talent and a lot of the skills, you know, to eventually ascend potentially to that level. Because, I mean, he, in spite of the fact that, I mean, he lost the first round, I thought Hernandez also was winning most of the second round, other than the fact that in the midst of a combination that he was throwing, as he was trying to make kind of his escape out like kind of, you know, hit and move, Higa landed just a peach of a left hook right on Hernandez's chin, dropping Hernandez, and you know, Hernandez got back up, and I actually thought Hernandez won with the rest of the round. So I mean, to me, like, that could have been either a draw round, or you know, maybe Higa got it 10-9, you know, as opposed to it being an outright 10-8 round. But it seemed like from that point, I mean, Higa was just looking to do damage, just sheer damage. I actually wound up giving Hernandez the third round. I thought he managed to recover pretty well, was able to kind of just out-quick Higa, but you could tell that Higa's punches, like just the single shots that Higa was landing and throwing, were just doing a lot of damage on Hernandez. It's just that Hernandez was able to kind of flurry back, respond, you know, kind of similar to the way that he won this title in the first place when he defeated Nawapan Kaikana, aka Nawapan Pochokchai, where Nawapan definitely had a big power advantage, power reach, and height advantage. But Hernandez was able to kind of fight back, and, you know, eventually he was able to catch him. Here against Higa definitely showed a better chin than Nawapan had, because Hernandez was able to catch Higa on a few different occasions with those same type of shots, those same type of hooks and uppercuts that are just, you know, they come out of nowhere. You know, he just kind of catches you with the speed and the snap of them. The fourth round, Higa came at Hernandez just as relentlessly as before, was landing clean, hard left hooks to the body, as well as to the head. The right hand was landing really nicely. The right hand is just a brutal punch. There was a couple of times where he like knocked Hernandez up against the ropes, and Hernandez like had almost like that deer in the headlights look for just a moment before he, you know, started flurrying back. The fifth round, Higa managed to drop Hernandez again. This time with one of those clean right hands that I was just mentioning just a second ago. Just a brutal right hand. Dropped Hernandez down. And, like, Hernandez was definitely hurt a lot worse by this punch than he was from that initial one. He did fight back really scrappily, but Higa definitely took the fifth round as opposed to the second. Like, Higa definitely controlled the rest of it. Was repeatedly stunning Hernandez. Hernandez was fighting back really valiantly. Was, you know, landing some excellent shots of his own. But it just looked like just the difference in power and chin. You know, the difference in power and chin ratio between the two was going to be the tail of the day. And that wound up completely coming to the pass in the sixth round, where Higa wound up dropping Hernandez 4 more times for a total of 6 knockdowns. Before Hernandez, you know, finally just got it called off by the ref. The ref waved it off once he knocked him down the 4th time in the 6th round. An absolutely brutal display from Higa. Went in there and just crushed Choritos Hernandez. You know, something that nobody had really been doing to this guy. I mean, Hernandez hadn't been knocked out since like one of his really early bouts. I think it was like his 8th or 9th pro bout or something. And then, of course, his only other loss aside from that one was the unanimous decision loss to Kazuto Ioka, who's currently the WBA Flyweight Champion. And so now we have a new WBC Flyweight Champion in Daigo Higa, and he looks like just a brute, man, just a savage. He's going in there looking to take your head off. He's 13-0 with 13 knockouts. You know, he's a young dude, 21. He's got plenty to grow from, I think. And I mean, he's just he's pretty damn solid at cutting off the ring. He was able to cut off the ring fairly well against Hernandez, despite of the fact that Hernandez gave him some trouble early on with the footwork and the foot speed. You know, definitely much quicker than Higa was, but Higa's ability to cut off the ring was good enough that he was able to kind of negate a lot of that speed, and the timing was good enough that he was able to negate a lot of the hand speed that Hernandez was putting on display. And I mean, Higa just looks damn good, man. I think there's a possibility that he may be the best flyweight on the planet, just with how nastily he destroyed Hernandez. I mean, Kazuto Ioka definitely should be ranked the #1 still, because he's the most tried and tested, the most time proven of any of the flyweight champions, but by far. But I mean, Higa definitely looks like just a new young gunner on the block. And I mean, if he was to have a unification with Dani Nietes, I'd favor Higa. If he was to have a unification with Zhou Shiming, I'd definitely favor Higa. Just that power is undeniable. Like, this guy can hit. This guy can really punch. He's a bona fide banger at that weight class. You know, I even mentioned it on Twitter, I think, that, you know, if there's one fighter that's going to keep Kosei Tanaka, you know, the light flyweight champ that I just made a video on, if there's one fighter that's going to keep Tanaka from being too antsy to jump up to flyweight, you know, after just becoming a light flyweight champion just recently and looking to start unifying, it's going to be Daigo Higa, man, because this guy can punch. This guy can really crack. And, I mean, it's really impressive. You know, I think, like I said, man, he might be the best flyweight now. You know, not necessarily the best in terms of actual proven overall ability, but I mean, damn, just, you know, the power there that he showed against Hernandez was definitely undeniable. Really, really impressive work from Higa, and I'm definitely looking forward to exactly who he may face sometime in the near future. I'd love to see him have a unification with Kazuto Ioka. You know, I mean, Ioka has been, you know, it seems like him and Zhou Shiming have been kind of circling each other for a big mega fight between Japan and China, which would be major. And I mean, I know that probably takes precedence over anything else. If Higa isn't able to get any kind of unification, I do know that his next mandatory is going to be Muhammad Wasim, a fighter from Pakistan, but who actually fights out of South Korea. Really interesting story there with that guy. Pretty good boxer too. Kind of almost like has an Amir Khan-esque style, albeit a lot more controlled, temperate, like moderate paced version. And like, I think probably what Amir Khan probably should have turned out to be as a pro, as opposed to what he did. You know, that's me comparing Wasim to Khan isn't meant to be any sort of like disparagement on Wasim at all. I actually think he's a really skilled boxer, and I think he can definitely give Higa a lot of puzzles to solve. You know, he's a pretty tricky, skilled technical boxer in there. So, you know, if Higa isn't able to get any kind of unification, especially against the likes of Higa, I mean, especially against the likes of Ioka, him versus Wasim, I think, is definitely should be on the docket. I mean, otherwise, I mean, him versus Francisco Chihuas Rodriguez would be a good fight. Juan Carlos Riveco would be a good fight. But I mean, yeah, impressive victory. I know Brian Valori is still ranked pretty highly up in there. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez's cousin, Christopher Gonzalez, is ranked pretty high in the WBC. I think he'd be a really interesting fight. I think he's definitely under the radar dark horse in the lower weight classes. Big time. He's a really good fighter. But really impressive work from Higa, and I mean, just in terms of rankings, I'd probably have to rank him, just off the top of my head, I'd probably have to rank him right behind Ioka and Zhou Shiming. I'd have to put Higa at number 3, simply because of the fact that those two are a little bit more proven at the top level for the moment. But I'm not counting Higa out against either of them. In fact, if they were to make either of those fights, I think I might favor Higa over both of them. Just really impressive work from the guy. So that's all I got to say on this one, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.